Okay, hold on.
It's right behind you.
Yeah.
I got sound that time.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yep, you got sound.
You got
You're-
sound?
Okay.
Alright, and we're recording?
Yep, we're recording.
Alright, then have at it, sir, whenever you want to start.
Okay. Welcome everybody. This is Wednesday. What is today? The 17th of October. Midpoint of the of October and the first third of the autumnal equinox. So it's about 2 weeks before we have the Halloween or All Souls Day or All Hallows Eve, which is like Celtic New Year, something like that, like Celtic New Year. So we're right in the middle of autumn here, and the trees are flushing out of some golden ambient and radiant colors, both amber and otherwise. So may all of you, wherever you are at, welcome to this GreenFire hour of this golden eternity of this hour. And we're going to deal with a thing about a loss of loved ones here today. This program will be called Song for Nora. And I think it's pretty healthy to include moments of reflection on loved ones who recently passed, who were not supposed to pass, like young people who have died. So this is a song for Nora. She was only 35 years old when she died from an overdose. So this will be a kind of a reflection and a song for other people and other families who have suffered similar addictions and overdoses and losses in their loved ones and their families. Not only here in the upper Midwest, but across the entire country and across the entire world. Now, most of the overdoses are opioid, some are methadone, some are heroin. And any of them are just horrific. So this is a reflection and outreach and a sharing of positive healing energy for those who are suffering the losses of loved ones in recent times or not so recent, maybe even the past year or many years ago. But it touches all of us in one way or another. And Nora was a first cousin who lived in Wisconsin, who had 2 boys. She left 2 boys behind. She left a grieving mother and father, many cousins and many cousins' children's, over I don't know how many. In her extended family, it's well over 100, maybe 200 people. And all of these people, they don't live just where Nora did in Wisconsin. They live in Chicago, San Diego, Los Angeles, Georgia, Minneapolis, some around the world. So wherever you are, may this be a morning star of grieving, a dolorosa, a sorrowful path, which is called the Via Dolorosa, or the sorrowful path. And as we go through this eternity of this hour, may it turn into a Via Transformativa, a transformative path, and also a joyful path as we go through this process. And again, it's to celebrate life while the wheel is in spin. We all take our place upon the great mandala. All of us take our place, and it's much more choiceful to choose to take our place. What kind of a place and space do we want to take upon the great mandala? Sometimes we find ourselves, while the wheel is in spin, on the great mandala, but it's much more choiceful and preferable to choose how we take our place and space on the great mandala. The great mandala is nothing more than the great medicine wheel of life. And everyone who's in the living time is in the wheel of life. And the wheel is in spin. So take this time, this moment of this GreenFire hour, to reflect on maybe you don't know someone, but maybe someone you don't know. And let's put this opioid crisis to an end, as well as heroin and methadone and any other killer drugs out there. Let's stop the nonsense. It's time. It's time now. This is enough. Enough is enough, and it's time to now be reflective and be sober, and do some atonement, a season of atonement, both in the Hindu tradition and the Islam tradition and the Jewish tradition. This time of year is Ramadan. There's different celebrations and different spiritual traditions for atonement. And so this will be our little goal in the eternity of this hour of atonement, so that through atonement and grieving, we come to at one-ment. And through the process, we'll just begin, and we'll share some other things along the way, so that we begin to understand, because it is through understanding we open our heart. And when we open our heart, we can feel the joy, the loss, the love, of the pain of others, as well as their celebration. So let us open our hearts as we move along here, and breathe in love, and breathe out peace, and breathe in peace, and breathe out love, and breathe in peace, and breathe out love, and breathe in love, and breathe out peace. In Lakash, I am another yourself. I Lakan, you are another myself. In Lakash, I am another yourself. I Lakan, you are another myself. In Lakash, I Lakan, I Lakan, in Lakash. In Lakash, I Lakan. Como sel barco, como sel barco, I sail in you and you sail in me. In celebration of Archbishop Romero's beatification and canonization at St. Peter's Square in Rome on Sunday, the whole of Latin America is in celebration for Archbishop Romero becoming a saint in the Western ecclesiastical tradition. So all the people in El Salvador and Latin America, greetings and celebration to you as well, for the great Archbishop Oscar Romero is part of our tradition as well. We'll touch on that a little more. But this is something I just finished, and this is basically, again, grieving a loss of a loved one, song for Nora. Sitting here in the fifth house of the universe mind, I celebrate the great blue sky. Here, the sun and the green, and its homecoming. And it's homecoming on the campus of the University of Iowa. There's a sign across from the Pentecrest on the Peasant Green on the south side of the Student Union saying, "Welcome home, alumni. Welcome home." Kind of nice, kind of flattening, kind of not fulfilling, nor exciting. Kind of feels like ways they want to exert your green from your wallet so they can officially service you as an account. So they can officially service you as an account received from your last U-bill, overpaid some moons ago at Jessup Hall, before we all U-hauled our ass out of town. Yeah, we overpaid some moons ago our U-bill at Jessup Hall before we all U-hauled our asses out of town. So the next batch of UI accounts could show up in the fall, and they said it all works out fine before and after. They worked over and U-hauled your mind into a Gemeinschaft of German existentialism. And this chicken has come home to roost. And this chicken has come home to roost just before homecoming, yet celebrating just the same. For my own small, simple reasons are nothing more than small ashanas. For my own simple, small reasons, and not theirs, just an uplifted gratitude just to be here on this great blue sky, solar day, by the sun and the green. Simple things, this real gratitude thing, some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me, and this essential uncertainty is some kind of principle, and we all want to live by the precepts. And I wonder where the lions are. And I wonder where the lions are. And I wonder where the lions are. And we all want to live by these simple precepts. And the song of Nora sings from a deep place, a deep purple place, and swings from a deep child space. Swings from a deep child space, a place none of us can touch, nor none of us can enter, and a place we can only honor with reverence. From a distance, far, far away, and the sadness of her passing at 35 does not go unnoticed. Among us, her extended family, both near and far. Both near and far. When you look straight into the eyes of death, there is no fear, only a misplaced courage. And here, at this moment, you no longer have to wonder where the lions are, for the lions are in our heart of our dear family's loving memorare. And this takes a while and goes 4 generations deep, deep, deep into a unified field of totality family unknowing. Into a unified field of totality family unknowing. Wash our spirits clean. Wash our spirits clean. Wash our spirits clean. There are no isobars. There are no squall lines. There are no perturbations. There are no level 5 hurricanes. All there is here is something beyond all that. All her trails, Lord, soon be over. All her trials, Lord, soon be over. All her trials, Lord, soon be over. Pace, pace, requiescat in pace. And remember her to me and all our family. Asymmetry mystery tree. And pray for the living here in the living years. Here where the wheel is in spin. And remember our family and other families to the mystery tree of unknowing, the tree of life, and to life and to one another, and to all that there is, this living ray. Babanam kevalam, Babanam kevalam, Babanam kevalam. Even in this Dolorosa, may we begin to find again. Even in this Dolorosa, may we begin to find again the joy of the journey, the beginner's mind, as we begin again to press on toward the dawn. We pray now for all those families across the great upper Midwest who suffer the pain, the addiction, the losses, the deaths of those loved ones so very near and dear to all of us. We pray now for all those families across this great upper Midwest who do suffer the pain and the addiction, the stigma, the losses, the deaths of those loved ones so very near and dear to all of us. We pray, we pause now and we step aside. We pause now and we step aside for this moment of this golden eternity of this hour to repent, to ask for forgiveness, to ask that we make atonement for our omissions, which are now so screamingly loud, and for our commissions, whether small or large, when we were so tall and talked so loud and walked so proud. Come live with us now, live in our heart, live in our small walk, live in our small talk, as we humbly seek to walk the little way, the path with the heart. These now are our very simple, humble concerns: to walk with the path with the heart, to earnestly give and receive loving kindness, and to care for the least of these, whether we know these people or not, or the stranger. For he ain't heavy, he's my brother, and Jesus is just all right with me, and Jesus is just all right with me, and we seek to elevate our prayers for, with, and through all the families suffering addiction to opioids, heroin, and other life-taking addictions. And for those, oh so holy ones, who overdosed and are no longer with us. We now pray in the name of the Most High Holy One, Lord God Almighty. Repose for the soul of our blessed beloved Nora, and all those other family members and other families around these parts and far away. For her family, for her 2 sons, her mom and dad, all her loving aunts and uncles, their families too, and her large, holy, extended family, over 100 or more, clear across America the beautiful, and the swift, enduring, long-lasting. And for those who are drug dealers, those of you who deal opioids, those of you who deal heroin, those of you who deal cocaine, and those of you who deal methamphetamine and other drugs that kill people. And for those of you, this special message: may a swift, enduring, and long-lasting imprisonment and punishment come to you this very day. For those of you who are heroin, cocaine, meth, and opioid dealers, and that's including medical doctors and pharmacists and salesmen and CEOs of big pharma, who make great profits out of these addictive drugs that kill people, these opioids. May you too spend long time in prison for the rest of your life, for the lives that you have taken unknowingly. They're in the cemetery, and you are sitting at the bank collecting huge profits on their deaths. So may you be in prison this very day. And our prayers are now in roses as they ascend with and fly with you, dear Nora. This is Nora, who's passed on now. Our prayers are in roses as they ascend with and fly with you, dear Nora, to your high heavenly resting place on high, where you can look in on us and receive and send healing prayers of grace and love. More swiftly, for you are now free to do this, and you are now surrounded by the dove, the Comforter, our Sustainer and Grace, and with prayers to and through our Blessed Mother Mary, in the Rosary and other little ways known and unknown, in the cloud of unknowing, of the rose and the little flower. May they smile loving golden light upon you this very hour. Requiescat in pace, dear beloved Nora. May the perpetual light shine upon you, and may you rest in eternal peace. So this is a song for Nora, who is a member of my family, but so many other families who have suffered the same sorrow and the same sadness, who carry that sadness in their heart. And so Nora was 35 and she left 2 boys. So if you're thinking about people tonight, think of your own family, your own loved ones. But send a little flower of love to Nora's little boys over there in Wisconsin. I think they're about 8 or 9. And may they feel the presence of your light and your affirmations. And all the other little kids out there, whoever, who need a little love and light. Whether they're in school and need help with their teachers, or they don't have enough money for food or books, or somebody's bullying them. Let's think about these little kids and send a little light and love for all these little kids out there. It's a tough world they got to deal with, and so let's help them out a little bit, because kids matter. Not according to the Department of Housing Education Services, who want to cut the budgets for little kids, we care about little kids, and send that out to your congresspeople and say, we need more funding for these little kids in health, housing, and education, as well as for college students who are burdened with these humongous debts of college loans. All students in universities should go to college for free. And some of these congresspeople are calling for that. I think even Bernie Sanders is calling for tuition free right on through medical school. Because none of the young people in college need to be burdened as a debt slave or a wage slave after college for the next 10, 20 years in their life to pay for their college, to pay the banksters for their college loans. So let's have a change here. Let's have a blue wave, and so make something count. And make your prayers count a lot. That's important right now. But also your vote counts. So this is a really important election, people. And let's have a blue wave. Everybody get registered to vote. And Tuesday, November 6th, the first Tuesday in November is the congressional voting, nationwide elections. So please register and vote. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I think you kind of can figure it out. But please register and vote. It's really important this year to exercise your civic duty, and as well as your civic privilege. It's a real privilege to vote. And let's remember along the way, say like 100 years ago, and you think of your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents and what they suffered and went through in order to get the vote. You know, women only got the vote less than 100 years ago. And black people only got the vote about 40, 50 years ago. So let's not take these things for granted. Let's really take them as a gift bestowed to us. That people have laid their lives down. People have fought wars over. A lot of veterans never returned home because they fought for our right to be free and our right to vote. So please register and vote wherever you are. Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, who knows, maybe you're watching this in Chicago or Los Angeles, but wherever you are, please register and vote. This is a key responsibility, and not only that, but your heart feels good. You know, you come out of that voting booth, and you know, you actually feel kind of good. It's I don't know how long that feeling lasts, but you feel like you did something of responsibility. So on these things, both exoteric and esoteric, what they call, the great physicist David Bohm would call the implicate-explicate order. So like on the implicate order, which we just had a song and a prayer for Nora and the families who suffer these terrible losses through overdose to addictions of opioids and methadone and heroin and cocaine and others. That's the implicate. We pray for these people. That's what we do when the door is closed, the closet is closed. We do that in private. But sometimes we do it in public. We call it a funeral. Everybody comes together and we pray for the people whose losses are being suffered, are felt. And the explicate would be something like, we could put into what would be called praticca samutpada, the minute particular nature of things. And that comes through a great Eastern philosopher named Krishnamurti. And Krishnamurti was one of the great philosophers of the 20th century. And he and physicist David Bohm talked about the implicate-explicate order. And on the explicate order, which I mentioned was the minute particular nature of things, which is known as a praticca samutpada. That means you go out and you vote. That would be the explicate, the outside world. The implicate is the inner world, right? The implicate-explicate order is both parts of physics. Some you see, some you don't see. Some is the invisible universe. That's also in the human universe within. That's the within of things, the interiority, the interior castle, if you may. That's the implicate order. The explicate order is the outside world and our social sphere, what we call our social ecosphere. And that would be voting. So on something like this, where you're hearing all kinds of like, oh man, bad news over here, somebody's bad mouthing somebody this candidate and then that candidate. Well, let's expand our ability for tolerance. So maybe this particular election, we expand and breathe in a field of tolerance, all right? And still make it really important that we commit ourselves to register and vote, no matter who we choose to vote for. So we begin to create a space for tolerance, right? From the big cosmic perspective, call it the big mind. You can call that the cosmic perspective, the big mind, and then on the expansion or creating a space for tolerance, so we can begin to have civil discourse, civil conversation, civil respect for one another, and not be knee-jerked around by everything we hear from one side of the spectrum to the other. But breathe in a little love, like breathing in love, and then breathing out a little bit of peace. Breathing in a little peace and breathing out a little love. Wherever we're at, we can do this simple act. Breathing in love and breathing out peace. And breathing in peace and breathing out love. And breathing in love and breathing out peace. We can do that wherever we're at. Whether we're at a stoplight and or if we're sitting in a university or in a doctor's office or down at Hy-Vee, we can send a little breathing in of love and light to people that we don't even know, who are at that moment part of our community. Because wherever we're at, we're part of that community. Whether we're driving a car, we're part of the mobile community. Everybody's mobile. So we can send a little love and peace to a lot of these irate drivers. So a little thing I found along the way that somebody told me was this FIDO. If somebody pulls in front of you, and anybody's bound to get mad if you see somebody jerking in front of you or taking advantage of your situation. That's bound to create a little bit of outrage or upsetness, stress, all right? So somebody said, just breathe this in, FIDO, forget it, drive on. So that's kind of a cool one. Just do a FIDO.
I like it.
Forget it, drive on. And so on that one, you see, we could short circuit a lot of our stressors that we get in the daily coming and going of things by just thinking about, oh yeah, that's right, FIDO, forget it, just drive on, and it'll leave us in 5 minutes. We won't even think about it because we've short-circuited that neural response, which is fight or flight. No, we forget it. We just drive on. And so out of that, we come to a deeper understanding that all of us, at one time or another, have jumped in front of somebody. And so that's sending out some good karma around. Excuse the pun, but that's sending out good karma all around. Forget it, drive on. Good karma when you're in the car. So out of that we come to a place where we'll look into what the moon is saying right now. What is the moon saying? Well, thank you, dear sir. I would like to give yourself an introduction here.
I'm Jason.
Thank you, Jason. God bless you. Appreciate it.
I'm the coffee man.
He's a coffee man at Uptown Bill's, and everyone who's watching this is being filmed at Uptown Bill's. Please come down and see Jason and support Uptown Bill's. It's a wonderful place just to come and be. It's a wonderful place. If you want to come and enjoy a good space and a good place, and Jason, hospitality, please come. 528, what is it, 720?
730 South Dubuque.
730 South Dubuque Street. It's just South Dubuque, just past the tracks. And so you come there, and here's Uptown Bill's. And it's a wonderful place. It's historical, it's got golden energy, I mean, everything about it is love, light, and liberty. It's the Holy Trinity lives here. Love, light, and liberty. The Holy Trinity. So please come in and support Uptown Bills and Jason. And also, if you feel like a spirit moves you, come downstairs and see Channel 8. What is it? Channel 18. The people of the PATV Underground. They're both co-conspirators in this consciousness of love and caring for the least of these, and spreading a little loving kindness around our community. So we're all in this underground co-conspiracy together. So love, light, and liberty. That's meant in a good way, people. It's meant in a good way.
It's a conspiracy we're not trying to hide.
We're not trying to hide. That's right. We're out in the open here, and come on in and be part of this conspiracy of love, light, and liberty. And my God, the coffee that Joe here is the best in town. So let's see what the moon has to say. And this is, like I said, the 17th of October. We're halfway through the autumnal equinox, and the autumnal equinox and All Hallows Eve, which is Samhain, which is the Celtic New Year. Samhain is November 1st, and it's halfway between the autumnal equinox and the winter solstice. That's like 6 weeks before one and 6 weeks after the other. And we're just 2 weeks before that. And so let's see what Mother Moon is saying up here. And I think it has to do with the dark places. So see, the sun, we had 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness on the autumnal equinox. Now the days are getting shorter, and the sun is rising later in the morning and going down earlier in the evening. And so this will take us to what's known as the dark side, where the sun is getting darker. There's not as much light. And so to the dark place, stripped deep in and steeped in parts equal of shame, guilt, and fear, to the pounding rhythm of adrenal flooding overload. And so to the dark place. I missed the leaping hair trigger, the sly sudden leasing of the catch. I simply came to bare naked and engulfed and choked on all the old and all the uncertain, ignorant of direction, cure, or specific cause, flailing icy cold, towered over by the long shadowed sins and scars. The current takes me, I'm in the water. The current takes me to the dark place. Beginning, end, journey, blockage. All is the dark place, and my failing, I glimpse it just. Snake hiss, smoke on the edges of understanding. My failing is to denote it, a failing to be once more in the dark place. To dismiss it as a wrong turn, a more careful self would not have taken. But it is so dark here, so very dark, with a sense of complete aloneness. So this is a psychic place. All the outer things that may shape a life, give it purpose, meaning, interest, satisfaction, they are not gone, but rendered so meaningless as to be entirely incomprehensible. There is no pretending here, and there is great pain. So this is more or less like purgatory. Could be a little into hell, but it's more like purgatory. A grief to the bones till they are liquid, to know the heart so plain and full, to know the memories and the weight of the unacknowledged. It is no wonder many never come here. This is the dark place. Souls are not mended in the light. The worst wounds require submersion for their true accounting. Shall I show you what I've lost, all I never had? In some pretty little montage, no, I will rip my day skin off to the raw in the dark place. Taste blood and tears and truth and the holding of presence and absence, until they are one and it is known, all is known. For that we return to the dark place. We journey the long nights and the short, pray to return by morning. Yes, pray to return by morning from the dark place. And what happens then in the dark? A hive makes honey, scars knit true. Some alchemies require the absence of light. Some alchemies require the absence of light. I must remember all of this each time I drop and rise to meet myself in the dark place. So some alchemies require the absence of light. So that's just a psychic shift. It doesn't matter that it applies personally. It's just a journey into the deep. And the dark mother, faceless in her beauty, to open the portal of self-compassion, and to those whose scars keep them hidden. So this is interesting. And ask the dark mother, fearless in her beauty, to open the portal of self-compassion to those whose scars keep them hidden. And that's a beautiful little affirmation. For sometimes in the dreaming time, a lot of this stuff gets worked out. Today is the 17th, and the moon, if you go out and see the moon tonight, I believe Mars is kind of trailing the moon. If you go out and see this beautiful moon, it's a beautiful night tonight. So if you have a chance, go out and see this moon. It's growing toward full moon. I guess they call it a waxing moon. And see Mars coming up behind it, say like about 9 o'clock. Somewhere around there, 9:30, even before if you want, after 7, when it gets dark. So this is, the full moon will be, I believe the 24th of Wednesday will be next Wednesday. A week from today will be the full moon. So we're 3/4 of a full moon right now. They're moving, it's a waxing half moon, and we're moving toward a full moon. So here's a piece called Salvage. I am remnants of my past, a patchwork girl hag woman sewn together, heart resurrected from explosions of days gone by, skin refreshed, renewed, no more flakes of you or pain from him, or latent as of yet unmet possibilities from the next in line. Just me standing here, bare, scaly skin, one with my heart, mind, words, aging body housing my soul, holding together my continuum of experience, beginning to show some wear and tear of where I have been, but not of where I may go. So this is a little bit of salvage, and this is solitude. So these aren't all these up poems. We'll try and find an up piece for you. The salvage has an interesting take on it. It talks about sometimes when they have the scales of our eyelids fall off, when the scales of our eyelids fall off, we begin to see for the first time. So Rumi says, why are you standing there in prison? The door is wide open. Why are you standing there in prison? The door is wide open. It's kind of an invitation. And that is again, as we move through this month of October, it has many resonance. One is again the ambers and the tones of the autumnal tone, the shifting of the temperature. Have you noticed a week ago, today, 2 weeks ago today, it was 91 degrees. And last week, it was hardly above 40 the entire week. I think we had a high of 42, 46, somewhere in there. We had lows in the 30s, and it was 20 degrees below normal. Normal this time of year is 62 degrees. And here we are having 46-degree highs, which is more like November or December. And we had all this flooding here in Iowa, and all the rivers were at flood stage or above. We had record, the month of September had 13 inches of rain, which is the all-time record for the month of September. Not only that, it was the all-time record for any month in any year in history. The all-time record of all the months in the entire history of record keeping was last month, September. That's 13 inches. And do we hear from Joe Winter or Schnackenberg or whatever his name is, and the weather people, do we hear anything about global warming? That is a taboo topic. Can you ask yourself, what are these corporate media meteorologists, what are they told not to say? I think one of the key terms that they're not to talk about, taboo, is climate change or global warming. All this rain, record rain, floods in September and October, and not one mention of global warming. I put it to you people, can you go down there and talk to these people, maybe rattle their cage, wail down the walls at Jericho around those stations, Channel 9, Channel 7, Channel 2, whatever station you're watching. Go down there and give them hell. This is wrong to not be talking about something that's changing our life right under our feet. And it will affect us more and more. And if you haven't noticed, Hurricane Michael came out of nowhere, was very close to a Class 5 hurricane. Winds of 155 miles an hour hit Mexico Beach near Pensacola in northern Florida and flattened the place. 85% of the town is flattened. Now that came up overnight, and again, the local weather people did not mention anything about global warming. Of course, it's not a political football. The science is done on that. So it's just a matter of us taking responsibility to put in office people who are not what we call them cavemen. I don't know, call them what you will, who refuse to acknowledge that the earth is not flat. These are all flat earthers sitting out there in these meteorological coves called weather stations, as well as in the current White House and the current climate, EPA and so forth. These are a lot of flat earth, and I don't want to call them Neanderthals because I actually have higher respect for Neanderthals than that. I actually respect Neanderthals. Some percentage of our DNA is from Neanderthals. So let's just call them something else. Fill in the blank. But we need to fill in the blank on election day and put somebody else's name in there to replace these people in the Congress, which are shape-shifting in the White House. Let's do a little shape-shifting. Make it uncomfortable, you know. Take a hammer to those feet of clay and just pound those feet of clay put a hammer to them and put them out of business, put them out of misery. And that's your job, that's your responsibility, because otherwise you're giving away your right to the future, literally. So please, again, register and vote on November 6th. Today is the 17th, that is, let's see, the 31st is 2 weeks from today, and that will be 3 weeks, about 3 weeks from today, just a little less than 3 weeks will be election day. And support people where you can. And get fired up, why not? Something to get passionate about. So we'll move into what's called the mist-filled path, which is Celtic wisdom for exiles, wanderers, and seekers. And sometimes there's a little word in there from the Irish Celtic tradition that can help us see our way along the trail. And here we have something from the shape of the sacred world. We lie in the lap of immense intelligence, which makes us receivers of its truth and organs of its activity. And the foundations of Druidic thought is the universal harmony of beings and things in perpetual realization. So these are perpetual realization. They don't just, they don't just exist for this particular time. They're not time bound by the linear world. They're not time bound. These are eternal truths. Before the coming of Christianity, the religion of Scotland was Druidism, a form of sun worship peculiar to the Celtic people. like all sun cults, was based upon a universal doctrine regarding the two states of existence, the one in the visible world and the other in the invisible or lower world. And so that's something in itself called dancing the sun. And in the lower world, so you have a preparing to dance. And so this man, we'll just share what he's saying here. He's talking about a pipe ceremony or something, and is preparing to dance. He went to this Lakota, South Dakota, and a month after the pipe ceremony, I found myself before a circle of tradition elders in South Dakota, pledging that I would be a dancer in the Sundance that next summer. We met in an 8-sided roundhouse, a kind of modern Hogan-like structure, made of aluminum siding and a concrete floor, on a traditional family homestead near Kyle, South Dakota, where the Sundance would take place. One elder in particular talked at length about the Sundance path and the importance of making it an everyday path, not just 4 days in the summer. And that's true. If you're going to be walking the Sundance path, that's not just those 4 days in summer near summer solstice, that's every day. Sunrise ceremony. To be part of a traditional Sundance, one must pass through a few gates, you might say. First, it's required that you be sponsored by someone within the inner circle of the traditions. Second, you must make an oath on the pipe that you are going to prepare yourself and dance with integrity. It's really important to dance with integrity, a path with a heart. To dance with integrity is everything, the path with a heart. Third, after passing through the first 2 gates, a prospective Sundancer enters into a phase of preparation that lasts all the months preceding the actual ceremony, perhaps and sometimes as much as a year in advance. These preparations, they don't have permission to reveal. They include going on prayer fasts, participating in sweat lodges, and getting a variety of materials, such as a ceremonial half robe called the Sundance skirt. That's the inipi, the hamblekia. And halfway through I encountered an incredible wall of resistance in myself to sundancing. So he goes on and he describes this thing. And what am I doing dancing in a Lakota Sundance? These are warrior people. They are genetically designed by the South Dakota landscape to be able to Sundance. I'm going to die. I rambled on and on in my mind, continually coming up with reflective thoughts and justifications of why I should not be dancing. I'm from the oppressor culture. I don't belong in their ceremonies. They don't want me there. I don't come from a warrior people. On and on. So he talks about all these doubts. And then he says, as I made my way from my Vision Quest circle back toward the vacant sweat lodge area, I stepped right on top of a ground cactus. I fell over onto the earth, successfully embedding another 4 cacti into my left shoulder and hip. Cursing under my breath, I pulled myself up and began removing the small cactus spines from my sunburned feet inside. Luckily, no one else around to witness my embarrassing thought, or my embarrassing moment. Though I thought I heard even the trees laughing at me that afternoon, and they probably were. The cactus spines, as they entered my body, pierced my awareness as well. This pause in the incessant ramblings of my mind caused me to re-entrain the challenge put forth by the old man, the medicine man. I needed to own all parts of myself, that is, the path with a heart, or I would die. I never told anyone about this visitation, and I never told anyone about leaving my circle. I simply slinked back to my humble seat in that circle on the earth and prayed to be guided through the next few months. And he says, in time, both through more dialogue with my sponsor and with our mutual friends, I decided that I could not let him stand in for me on an oath I had made. It was not his problem or fault that I was afraid, but the definitive factor that caused me to go was a brief exchange I had with my friend. Our conversation was my saving grace. Her words were something to trust in, and I clung to them as if they were a shield. However, psychologically, I also began to prepare myself for what felt like a real possibility, death by the Sundance. So, it is about love, Kola. It is about love, Kola. Babanam, Kevalam. Love is all there is. Until you learn to love yourself, you will never fully love your life. It is all about love. Babanam, Kevalam. Love is all there is. And as the Beatles said, love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. I also began to prepare myself this very day. And in the process of the Dolorosa path, which we have followed somewhat steadily today, we want to always remember that the path, that when we're walking a sorrowful path, this cup too shall pass. As like you're drinking this cup of sorrow, this cup too shall pass. But while you're doing it, just remember, consider the usages of adversity. When you're walking a sorrowful path, consider the usages of adversity. They can become your best friend. And the usages of adversity are only there for you only when you consider them. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to return to Nora's song, which was written just about an hour ago. Not an easy song to compose. Again, when a loss of a loved one, a family member due to overdose. And someone who overdose creates tremendous pain in the community, whether people know it or not, because it causes people to stop and reflect on where we're going as a society, who's responsible, who passed by omission what people have not done in order to stop this from happening. And I would put it to you, there's a lot of people in the medical community who should be tried for crimes against humanity on this opioid crisis. Those who prescribe, the doctors who prescribe opioids, everybody knows this stuff's very addictive. The pharmacologists and the CEOs of these big pharma companies who are making millions, if not billions, off of these drugs, while people are dying and the cemeteries are filling up. This is the largest medical epidemic in this country, is the opioid crisis. 40,000 people died last year of opioid. 40,000, and maybe much more than that. But we're talking communities of despair, and so this also goes back to the banksters who took a lot of money out of here and sent a lot of people's jobs overseas to China, Mexico, you name it, third world countries, and broke the backs of people who bought into the American dream and then had it the rug pulled out from underneath them and found themselves with no jobs, and after a while there are no jobs, they have no confidence, they have no esteem, they have no place in the community, they're in debt, and so they're totally depressed. And what do? They turn to opioids and to addictive drugs. They turn to heroin, they turn to methadone, they turn to anything just to get them through the day because their lives are just shattered. Okay, so in all of these people, it's dedicated to the song of Nora. Sitting here in the fifth house of the universe mind, I celebrate the great blue sky by the sun and the green, and it's homecoming. There's a sign across from the Pentecrest on the peasant green on the south side of the student union saying, "Welcome home, alumni." Kind of nice, kind of flattening, and kind of not fulfilling nor exciting. It kind of feels like the ways they want to exert your green from your wallet so they can officially service you as an account received from your last U-bill overpaid some moons ago at Jessup Hall before we all U-haul our ass out of town. Remember, you paid your last U-bill, and next thing you know, you're U-hauling your ass out of town. So the next batch of UI accounts called students could show up in the fall, and they said it all works out fine before and after. They worked over and U-hauled your mind. They worked overhauled and U-hauled your mind into a Gemein shaft of German existentialism. And this chicken has come home to roost. Just before homecoming, yet celebrating just the same for my own small, simple reasons. Just an uplift of gratitude just to be here on this great blue sky solar day. The sun and the green and the simple things, this real gratitude thing. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. And this essential uncertainty is some kind of principle. And we all want to live by the precepts. And the song of Nora comes flying in from a deep place and swings from a deep child's space. A place none of us can touch and none of us can enter. And a place we can only honor with reverence. For a distance far, far away. And the sadness and the suddenness of her passing at 35 does not go unnoticed among her extended family, both near and far. When you look straight into the eyes of death, there is no fear, only a misplaced courage. And here at this moment, you no longer have to wonder where the lions are, for the lions are in our heart of our dear family's loving memorare. And this takes a while and goes 4 generations deep, deep, deep into a unified field of totality and family, unknowing and washing our spirits clean. There are no isobars, squall lines, or perturbations here. All her travels, Lord, soon be over. Pace, pace, requiescat in pace. And remember her to me and all our family, a symmetry mystery tree, and pray for the living here in the living years, where here the wheel is in spin, and remember our family to the mystery tree of unknowing, and to life, and to one another, and to all that there is, this living ring. Even in this dolorosa, this sorrowful path, may we begin to find again the joy of the journey, a beginner's mind, as we begin to press on toward the dawn. We pray now for all those families across the great Midwest who suffer the pain, the addiction, the losses, the death of those loved ones, so very near and dear to all of us. We pause now and step aside to repent, to ask for forgiveness, to ask that we may make atonement for our own omissions, which are now so screamingly loud, and for our commissions, whether small or large, when we were so tall and talked so loud and walked so proud. And may they come and live with us now and live in our heart and live in our small walk and live in our small talk as we humbly seek to walk the little way, the path with a heart. These now are our very simple, humble concerns, to walk the path with a heart, to earnestly live and give and receive loving kindness and care for the least of these. For he ain't heavy, he's my brother. And Jesus is just all right with me. And we seek these and elevate our prayers. And for dear Nora, to your high heavenly resting place on high, where you can look in on us, receive our prayers as roses as they ascend with you and fly with you now. Where you can look in on us, receive and send the healing prayers of grace and love more swiftly. For you are now surrounded by the dove, the comforter, our sustainer in grace, and with prayers to and through our Blessed Mother Mary and anyone else in our heart song, and other little ways of the rose and the little flower. May they smile loving golden light upon you this very hour. Requiescat in pace, dear beloved Nora. May the perpetual light shine upon you. May you rest in eternal peace. And that is for everyone out there in this eternal green fire of life. Let us celebrate life and remember those who have passed on. Peace.